The next speaker we want to take a look at is that 30MC. Inside the box, get your Alpine warranty, and that's it. And these are their cute little mid-range. This uses a standard style magnet. It does have aluminum basket. Don't drop them. It has some form of a plastic or mica based cone. It says Alpine on it, rubber surround. It's a cute little speaker for sure. But what we need to find out is if these will fit in the existing brackets we made. To do that, we need to know some measurements off of the back of the speaker. Here on the laptop, we've pulled up the brackets we make for the Mustang. As you can see from the rendering, it looks an awful lot like their speaker. A couple differences between the Alpine and this is it uses an EO magnet. It is fairly shallow, but when you compare the two, and this is what I was talking about, you can see how inset this driver is compared to this top piece of foam. When you take this driver and you just set it on top of here like this, our driver is going to stick out way further, meaning this surround is sticking out way further than this surround. It's about 1/4 inch difference, and that will cause this to hit the door panel. Good news is it looks like it's going to be about the right size. Our design currently has a 2.89 inch opening. Measuring across the speakers at the 2 screw points, we go out to what we have currently. Ours is for a much bigger speaker. Anytime we're going to modify an existing layout, we just create a duplicate of it, close our original, and rename the one we are going to modify. Select center point. And what I mean by select center point is that you can pick wherever you want the circle to enlarge from. You want to pick the center so it stays where it's at, it just grows out. Otherwise it'll move out like this or this. You also want to pick this little icon here, that means link. So whatever I do here or here, it will copy to the other size, and it shrunk it down. Repeat the process. And that changes the hole. The next thing we have to look at is these screw points here. Those may be way off as well. From the front, we want to take another measurement, about the halfway point, maybe a little bit more. We want to get the measurement for that, because this is going to tell us where all our holes need to be lined up at. Coming back over here, create a new circle, move that into place, lining it up with the existing circle. The pink line there is telling us it's lined up. By doing that, we can see our screw holes are way off, and we're gonna have to fix those. Line those back up with that. The easiest way to do that is to come in and drop crosshairs, move the circles into their new location, and then repeat the process on the bottom one. The reason why we have 2 different ones listed here is because one is driver, one is passenger. Because of the logos, we can't just flip them. If we didn't put a logo on it, then we could make one size to fit all. With that done, we no longer need that path. We can remove it, and we have our new speaker hole with the new, we have the new speaker hole that'll fit this, and the whole pattern is now for this particular speaker. One other thing I needed to do to these design is that the previous version of these, Fernando has wanted a hole somewhere on here to run the wire through. The way it's mounted now, if you'll notice this guy here, it comes through here and it attaches on this. Fernando wants me to put a hole somewhere in this area around where the Mustang logo is for the wire to come up through the back side. With those final adjustments made, we have our brackets for these. I'm going to export this, we'll get it into the laser, we'll see what these look like. The laser just got quiet, that means it is done. And here's what we've come up with. By cutting all these at the same time, I've maximized my waste. Let's get these out and put some speakers in them and make sure we did a good job. This groove here is for the wire to pass up underneath. Speaker's nice and tight. Screw holes line up just the way we want them to. So this is a win. Next is the little door pod mount. Lines up just the way we want it to. Next step for these is next we'll take our self-threading drill bit. This is an M4. We'll add in our threads for our screws. Acrylic does not scratch acrylic. So to get this paper off, just take one of the pieces that we have here, pull this stuff right off. Next, we'll grab our foam, just like the factory speaker, put foam on the back. Apply foam to the back of the speaker itself. this has to sit flush up against the metal. Next, we'll add some foam to the front just to finish it off because this is sitting further back than the factory. So we want to make sure that we get it as close as we can, get it up into the door, and that's what we have. We have one done. Do the same for the other side. No installation is going to be without its challenges ever. There's always going to be something. And here we are with ours, this tweeter. The way this mount is attached is they heat mold it in this bracket, and then the tweeter just kind of like angles in and clips into place. There's these 3 clips here, one here in the back that's really hard to get to, and these 2 in the front. Prying up on them in the tweeter, as you can see, it just kind of flops out, and this is what we're dealing with. Cloth tweeter. I'm assuming a small neo magnet. There is a capacitor on the tweeter itself. That is how the factory mid-range and the tweeter are on the same channels. They're just using the natural roll-off point of this mid-range, and then the cap on the tweeter is adding in that tick-tick sound. But keep in mind they share a channel, so if you're going to do an active system like we're doing, and or a passive system that has a 3-way passive crossover, running new wires to the tweeters is something you're going to have to do. And the reason why we pick these tweeters to run the wires to is because they're in the car and we don't have to go through the boot. Now the fun starts of trying to figure out how to put this much bigger tweeter into this location that it clearly isn't going to fit into. Front grill does pop off. It has 3 clips that you can reach from the inside. I take it off so I can kind of see what is going on there. The tweeter isn't going to fit in this location from the front. I mean, if it did, it would look pretty bad because it would stick out like that. I mean, I'm sure it'd be okay for some people, but that does give me an idea of how much room I have that I could get this in from the back side. Like everything in a Mustang, it's just gonna be a little bit harder. Get this out, which is what I need to do. I need to be careful because obviously I just don't want to grab a big drill bit and drill through. I could run the risk of coming through this. We do have this cool drill bit here. This is a countersink drill bit. As you can see, it has the hole. We picked these up at the cheap tool store, but it works perfect for drilling these weld points out. Just loosen that right up. With some prying from our cool pry tool, we can get these things out. And we have this cool guy here that we're going to play with. Now it's time to stare at this for a little bit and come up with a solution to this problem. It's gonna take a couple, that's for sure. I've stared at this for a while to come up with what I think is the best plan so far. One of the things I did miss when unboxing these speakers is that there are more parts for the tweeters located in the bottom of it. So it has a flush cup here, it has 2 angle mounts, it has the threaded back side for this cup so that you could drill it into a panel, which we've done before. However, none of this stuff is going to help me because it's all way too big. What I'm thinking though, that the tweeter is the right size for the opening, but we don't want it to come in through the front. I have this area back here that I can use to attach something to, and I have this clip area here, which has this nice flat area. The idea is I'll make a piece that goes from here to here. This is an M6 rivet nutsert that we use in a car, but it fits perfect into these 3 holes. I can add some glue to it, stick it in there, and that'll allow me to put a nut into this. And then what I'm hoping to do is notch this so I have a panel that slides into place and then screws down and then will hold my tweeter into its location. That's kind of the thought I have right now. To get that to work though, I'm gonna grab my laptop, my calipers, start taking some measurements, start manipulating some shapes in the software to see what we come up with. I've opened up the computer with a blank page to start doing this. And what I want to start with is the length from here to here. And once I get that, I'm going to draw a square. I'm going to add in a circle for this. And then we're just going to build off of that. Most of the time when we do this, we have a generic shape that we're going for, meaning we have like a speaker bracket or something like this. But with this, we're just starting from thin air and trying to come up with something that works. So this is going to be a little bit different process. And because of that, we want to deselect maintain proportions, because the proportions aren't necessarily going to be the same as we move on. Looking at this gives me a really rough idea of what I'm kind of thinking. I want to print this and see if I'm on the right path first. I need to figure out if I need to make it at 1/4 inch, if I need to make it at 1/8 inch, but first I just want to cut it real quick and see how it falls into my thought process. And for that, I'm just going to cut it out of a piece of cardboard. I'll line my cardboard back up just in case. We're gonna cut a second one, but here's our first one. Let's take a look. All right, the diameter of the tweeter is spot on. Our hole lines up. One of the things I'm gonna have to do on this is a solid piece right here. I wanna remove that area there so that my piece will tongue into that. For that, I'll just use my Roto Zip. So I didn't know how big that could be. Now I'm gonna trim this down until I can get it to sit in there the way I want it. We have some ideas on what we need to change. This is look number 2. Prototype number 2, that fits way better. Exactly how I wanted it to go in, so that's a plus. I'm gonna plate this some more, make sure this is what I wanna do, and then we'll get our final printed.